Hey, what's up? I'm KBHD here, and welcome to Techtember. That's what we're calling it. Brought to you by the Waveform shirt, of course, link down below. Let me just say, this is going to be a pretty action-packed month, and then just getting into the rest of the year, but there's a lot of good stuff coming. Trust me. I've tweeted about it. I've teased it a little bit. Just make sure, if you haven't hit that notification bell on the channel yet, this would be a good time. So now that I've primed you for it a bit, this is the first thing we're taking a look at, which is a first look at the RAZR 2. This is it. It's the new RAZR. So time flies. It seems like just yesterday we were seeing the first folding phones, and right away now we're on the second generation. And the second generation, to me, is where the most interesting stuff happens. See, the first gen stuff, it's all cool, but it's a lot of proof of concept, testing the waters, let's see if this works or not. The second generation is where the adjustments are made. It's where they heard our voices. It's where they know what tech to improve, what design to improve, and what to actually work on, and what to drop, what to forget about. So this is the second gen Moto RAZR. And to me, what I'm seeing here is Motorola really doubling down on almost everything. You can see the design is basically the same. It's that vertical flip phone foldable, but with, some little dimension and shape tweaks for this one. So looks like it's about the same thickness, but the chin here is now tapered, so it feels a little bit thinner. The fingerprint reader that used to be on the chin has now moved to the Motorola logo on the back, and honestly, I like that a lot. It feels like a throwback to a lot of the other Motorola phones back in the day where there was always a dimple on the back. And the bottom of the phone is now a little bit different. It's a more traditional looking bottom with the speaker and the USB-C port, and now a physical SIM card tray. And then the button layout has also been adjusted a little bit. The power button moved over to the left while the volume rocker stayed on the right. Nice. And there's 3 colors now. So this is your exclusive look at all 3 colors in one shot. You're not going to see this anywhere else. This is your polished graphite, the dark one. Then liquid mercury is the silver one, and blush gold over here, which is all the rage. And the color moves right up into the body and the bezels all around the display. So you can even see it from the front. You'll never not know which color you have. So it's clearly a bunch of little things, right? It still looks almost the same from afar, still evokes all the same nostalgic flip phone feelings, but I think these are all good adjustments. And then there's a new 48 megapixel f1.7 main camera with OIS here on the front. So the camera was a pretty big weakness on the first RAZR, and from the few photos I've taken messing around with this new one, it doesn't look like a drastic change, right? It's still a kind of a small camera module. It's an improvement from the first one, don't get me wrong, but this isn't a multi-camera flagship array with an ultra-wide and a telephoto and everything like that. It's more of a bump up in the lane they were already in. Really, the bigger change you'll actually notice here with the camera is the new camera UI, because they've redone the layout of the camera app, so it's a bit simpler with just photos and videos readily accessible, and then all your other modes tucked away neatly. But I kind of get the feeling that cameras are going to be the limitation of this form factor in general. Like anyone who goes for this thin vertical flip style, it's so thin that you can't really fit a huge array of flagship cameras in something like this. So it's better, of course, than last year, but this isn't about to jump to be like a flagship camera array. See this? The Galaxy Note 20 Ultra with the huge camera bump? You literally can't fit that in the top of the RAZR, so it's just the lane that it's in. Now, Motorola has also updated the hinge here on the RAZR. The most important part of a folding phone that helps you get that satisfying close. So it goes from the aluminum body up here to a stainless steel gapless hinge. Now they call it a zero gap hinge, but that's not because there's no gaps ever in it. It's because the hinge itself allows it to fold completely flat with no gaps in the middle, which is awesome. But the hinge itself still does have the tiniest gap behind the display, and you can kind of see it a bit as it's folding. And really the folding mechanism with the display moving down a little bit into the bezel as you close it is still the same. It's not a complete re-engineering. It's kind of like what Samsung did with the Fold. It's just a little cleaner, hopefully a little more durable than the previous version from last year. But still, if you look to the sides of the display, you can actually see the gears of the hinge turning in on each other as you fold them open and closed. And the main display itself is going to be a 6.2-inch OLED again, same shape, same notch at the top, And I was actually thinking visually, it looked like there was a lot less visible crease with this version, but then as I started folding it and using it more and more for a couple days, slowly the crease became visible again in this very unique like triple crease look because of the backplate behind it. And again, it's not a huge deal if you're using the phone like normal, just looking at content on the screen, but if you're looking for the crease, it's still there. And also, I've got to say, I've always found these a little bit difficult to quickly open with one hand. And I think, part of it is because it's a glossy phone and it's a little bit slippery, but just, I know it would take a bit away from the nostalgia, but I think some of these are going to need like a little notch, a little cutout indent at the bottom. So you're able to quickly open it and confidently not think you're going to drop it. It's a small thing, but it would help usability a lot. Closing it is still awesome though. Also, Motorola in their marketing language says that this is again a, what do they say? A water repellent design. And that's not like an IP rating, that's not water resistance of any kind. It's really just saying that there are parts behind the display that if there's a little condensation or a little extra moisture, it will protect those parts. But yeah, this is still definitely a phone you're gonna wanna protect from water. Don't go dunking this in water thinking it's water repellent. So, pretty much everything we've gone over so far, minor changes, right? Very familiar phone. I think the last two are probably the most telling as far as what Motorola's strategy is with RAZR, and that is the specs and the software. So the specs are Snapdragon 765G, which makes it 5G capable, 256 gigs of storage, and 8 gigs of RAM. So not the highest end, most power hungry chip, which is probably smart for a phone with a 2800 milliamp hour battery like this, but that also tells me this form factor isn't ready for peak flagship hardware yet. Like you just can't fit a flagship sized battery in here. You can't fit a flagship sized camera array in this phone. You can't fit a flagship processor and specs in here. At least not yet anyway. So that shows Motorola is set on this form factor, at least for RAZR, and they're gonna do the best they can within it. But what I like is that they've put a lot of thought into how people use this RAZR form factor, and the software with the outside display especially is like the best show of that. So there's a new card UI here, which makes it more quickly useful for launching apps and addressing notifications. Basically the outside screen of the RAZR is definitely its biggest advantage over something like the Z Flip, which just has a tiny outside screen for the time. And so why not double down on it, right? You can quick launch apps, you can use those cards, you can even pull up a full-size keyboard and type on it if you want to, which you probably don't want to, but you can. Or you can watch YouTube videos on it. Nothing will really stop you or limit you here. It's a whole launcher and everything. So Motorola knows that outside display on the RAZR is a big deal. It's an advantage they have over other vertical folding phones, and they're gonna make sure we can do anything we want with it. But basically, that's about it. Overall, it's a pretty minor update. There's no high refresh rate, there's no wireless charging, no crazy, design change or anything like that. It's a lot of what we expected, but also includes still all of Motorola's very underrated software optimization. Still has double chop for the flashlight, still has double rotate for the camera. All that's still here. So now the question is, for the price, this is again gonna be $13.99. And for this price, for the second version, the question is a little harder. Does the nostalgia still hit the same way that makes you want to spend that much on a folding phone? Knowing it's probably going to get better again in the next generation. I know the first one came out and everyone went, oh, I don't care how much that is. That nostalgia was powerful. I gotta have that phone. I don't care how much. And so that sold a few of them and people like the RAZR. But now that it's starting to evolve a little bit, is this still going to be a phone you want for $1,400? Questions out there. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Either way, that's been it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you very soon in the next one. Peace.